Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Ramadan Kareem. Today I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about planet plastic and the impact of plastic pollution. So when we think about pollution, we don't normally think about plastic pollution. We think about, say, climate change, the greenhouse effect, how much we drive, how much we travel internationally, how many air miles we use, all of that kind of stuff. And we don't really think about the impact of our consumption of plastic and what impact that has on the environment. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about that, and particularly to talk to you about the disposal of plastic and how it acts as a huge pollutant in our environment. Could someone help me move to the next slide? So just some statistics, because I am an accountant and I like my numbers. So 300 million metric tons of plastic are produced annually, and only about 10% of that is recycled. And the rest of it actually ends up in landfill sites and in the oceans. So we don't normally think that plastic ends up in the oceans, but actually about 9 million tons ends up in oceans. And just to give you an idea of how much 9 million tons weighs, that's about the same weight as about 45 million elephants or adult elephants. So it's a huge, huge, huge amount of plastic that's ending up in our oceans. So why is that actually a problem? Well, one of the main problems is that actually, if it ends up in oceans, then a lot of the wildlife and the biodiversity within the oceans is actually ingesting this plastic or getting caught up in this plastic. So you can see that around 700 marine species are thought to ingest plastic. And that includes 90% of seabirds and 52% of sea turtles. And it's really sad because sea turtles often think plastic bags are jellyfish. And so they get caught in them and they ingest them and all sorts of things. And as a result, 100 million sea creatures or sea mammals die every single year. That's huge. And just to give you an idea of what that is in numbers, so that's about 1.5 times the population of the UK. And that's from a combination of ingesting plastic and just getting kind of caught up in it. And as they ingest it, their digestive systems can't actually break it down, or it clogs up their organs, and so it just basically kills them. And there's a lot of pictures that you can see online where they open up seabeds and literally there's huge amounts of plastic just stuck in their bodies, like whole pieces of plastic. And actually, we don't really think that it has an impact on us because it's in the oceans, but it has a huge impact on us because what happens to plastic is that it doesn't actually decompose. And I'll show you on the next slide decomposition timeframes. Oh, sorry. So if I just go back a little bit. It actually just breaks down into smaller pieces of plastic, to microplastic pieces. And these are then ingested by fish, and we eat fish. And so there's a lot of evidence to suggest that actually small amounts of plastic are actually coming into the food chain, and we're actually ingesting them ourselves, which is highly toxic, by the way. Can I go to the next slide, please? So these are just some estimated decomposition rates. So you can see how plastic, and because of the picture on the right, you can't really see the last picture, but that's actually a styrofoam cup, and it tells you how long these particular types of things take to decompose. So normally, even things that are biodegradable take quite a long time, and your plastic bottles take between 400 and 500 years, and styrofoam cups potentially never. And actually, I don't think we even know, because plastic hasn't been in existence for long enough to know how long it takes to decompose. And the evidence at the moment suggests that it just breaks down into smaller pieces, so it doesn't go back and decompose into its natural elements. Can I go to the next slide, please? So I just wanted to show you a video to bring it home, to show you actually what would it feel like if this was actually your home, if you were a sea creature and you were living in this ocean and this was happening to your home. So if we could play this video, thank you.
Let me out, let me out! I'm in this flat, which is very nice. I must admit, just coming here, I was a little bit apprehensive. Lovely blanket. I have no idea what's going to happen. So I have woken up and there is a lot less food. When you've had your food like limited, all you can do is think about food. This is a bit more like a prison cell. We've literally moved from like food being rationed to very simple living. It's only when you have these things taken away you actually realise what it feels like. I am apprehensive about what's going to happen tomorrow because I just feel like, what are you going to take now? That is disgusting. So this is my bathroom. It stinks as well. Look at it. We don't need to be using this much plastic. I wish you could go through this. It would wind you up so much you would never, ever not recycle plastic. 9 bags of plastic. Wow, the sun and the heater. I'm gonna cook. I think I'm ready to go home now. When everything gets stripped away from you, it's like you have no, rights. I don't want to sleep in a lounge. So this is my new home. I haven't really got any food. And to be honest, I just want it to be over. So I've just got back to my bedroom and found this. We cannot live like this. My first thing is literally get me out that door. That's all I'm thinking about is get me out of this place. It smells dirty. It's literally getting hotter by the minute. Let me out, let me out! It's not until today that I actually realised the severity of this situation. Every single day, obviously, I've been able to adapt and move rooms and clean it up. But today, I'm stuck here, the door's locked, I have no water, I have no food. There's literally nothing I can do.
So the PowerPoint presentation we can no longer see, but basically that video is basically showing what it would be like if you were a creature living in the ocean. Your living space had been reduced, it had been completely contaminated by plastic. The temperature had been massively increased, your food sources had been reduced, and you'd basically feel like you were trapped in a prison cell. And that is basically what we've done to sea creatures in our ocean. And so the next step is to think about, well, actually, what can we do? And there's 4 R's that you can think about. So refuse, basically say no to plastic. Reduce, if you are going to use plastic, then reduce the amount of plastic you're going to use. reuse. So if you are going to use it, at least use reusable plastic, not single-use plastic, and recycle. So if you are going to use even single-use plastic, then try and recycle it. And I want to talk about, before we end, and I know it's nearly namaz time, what you can do this Ramadan. So one really simple thing is that you can bring your own reusable mug, water bottle, or travel mug, and that will mean that you will not have to use a plastic cup or a styrofoam cup, and you can then have at least a small impact on the environment. And so we're really encouraging everyone this Ramadan to bring their own kind of utensil to drink from, or piece of cutlery to drink from. The other thing you can do is you can bring your own food containers. So it's really hard to bring it can be really hard to bring a plate and then to take it home if it's dirty. So actually you can just bring a food container, something you would take to work, put your food in it, eat from it, and then take it home and wash it. That's a really easy kind of thing that you could do and actually has a big impact. And finally, you can't see it, but there's a really wonderful saying that I really like from a Native American proverb, and it's basically, it says that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we simply borrow it from our children. And the idea is that actually we don't have rights over the earth. In actual fact, we're just guardians over it for future generations. And I think the way we've been consuming in the last 50 to 100 years means that actually there might not be the same type of earth for our children to utilize. And I personally want a world in which, we have biodiversity, we have clean oceans, we can swim with the dolphins, we're not ingesting plastic because fish are eating plastic. So I'm really hoping that you will start to think about your plastic consumption much more kind of consciously, and take the steps to kind of reduce it. And you'll remember the 4 R's. And I would really recommend that you watch that video, because I know the women couldn't see it, but it is really interesting and it's really worth watching, and it really gives you an idea of what it is that we are doing to this planet and the creatures on this planet that we're sharing this planet with. So thank you very much for listening, and I hope you'll have time to watch the video later.